Recording in progress.
Hi, everybody. I'm hoping you can hear me. Of course, right before we went to start, I aspirated my own saliva because that's professional. But hi, welcome back to First Bite. I'm Michelle Dawson. We are truly kicking off. I don't know if this is our seventh season or our eighth season, but episode 3,482. But I am honored to have our guest on today. And this is a part 2 podcast episode. So I will kick you back over to part 1 for that. But Jordyn and Chelsie said yes and came back on. And then behind the scenes, Jordyn, our IT guru, and Yumi worked magic to make all of this come together around some very busy schedules on a Friday afternoon and an impending ice storm. So, Jordyn and Chelsie, full disclosure, school was let out early and we're pending snow squalls with 60-mile-per-hour winds. So, if I lose power, I will pop off and hop on my cell phone, which is not the most professional, but this is mountain living and I am adjusting. So, without further ado, Chelsie, Jordyn, thank you so very much for coming back on. And hi.
Hi. Yes, thank you so much for having us.
Um,
Hello again.
hello. This is an amazing way to celebrate the phenomenal work that you have done, but also to honor Black History Month. And to go out there and to say it boldly that diversity, equity, and inclusion matter, that we need to raise the membership and opportunities to grow BIPOC colleagues and the next generation and open doors. And I know I have made that abundantly clear in past First Bite episodes, but this is a safe space. And we'll just say that firmly. So, y'all have big things happening this month. So, tell us what is happening this month. And then we should probably backtrack and let y'all introduce yourselves. But yes, hi.
Hello. So yes. Firstly, on behalf of Black SLP Magic Crew and SLP Social Scene, we just want to say thank you to Speech Therapy PD, Michelle, Yumi, Debbie, the whole entire team for working super diligently. All of this was like turn around, my eyes were closed and open, and we were like having a whole event. So shout out to you guys for just bringing us back on. And yeah, we have a lot going on. What we got going on, Jordyn? We got a lot.
Well, we are actually partnering Black SLP Magic and Speech Therapy PD to put on a free live CEU event for Black History Month. So we're so excited about this. Yeah, and it's live, it's for the people, and we brought the speakers in. So you already know if you've ever been to a Black SLP Magic conference, you know the type of speakers we bring. So it's not something you want to miss.
Yes. Oh, well, this is exciting. I have to be honest, Speech Therapy PD has been so good to me. They've sponsored we did a feeding seminar last summer and they helped raise proceeds, like the money that was raised went to Feeding Matters, like in the international nonprofit for PFD. And it's just amazing that y'all keep giving. So we are grateful. But okay, so let's take it all the way back to the beginning and talk about how you became speech therapist, rehash for folks that aren't familiar with this journey. And then I feel like we skimmed the surface last time because there was so much more. So then we're really going to go through how to break down systematic barriers and open doors to facilitate more opportunities, right? Yeah. Chelsie, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. Sure. So a little bit of background about myself. I am a acute care therapist working in an adult hospital acute care settings with mainly adults. I don't touch the babies, even though I love the babies and the kiddos, but that's not my jam.
I am
Originally,
grateful for you because I don't work with the adults, but today I helped a 4-week-old and was like, I just want to smell you. Can I smell you?
oh wow, yeah,
Yeah.
that's shout out to you because I'm like, babies, no, I can't. It gets to my heart a different way. So
Yeah.
I work with the lovely old grumpy old adults, which I'm obsessed with, in the high acuity, high complex medical setting at their most vulnerable state. So I'm very fortunate to work at three large trauma one hospitals in the Dallas area. I attended Howard University, HU, for my graduate graduate program. And since then, I relocated from good old DMV that I miss back down to Houston, where my family is. And now my husband and I live in Dallas. So I'm currently practicing in Dallas. How I got into speech pathology is a really funny question because I kind of felt like I was just like in it already because my parents both own a previously, before they sold it, a home health company back home in Houston. And that's where I would help my mom with like billing and clerical work in the office and my parents. And I would always see notes that said like OT, ST, PT, RN, RT. And I'll be like, what do all these things mean? And so as I got older, still working summer jobs at my parents' home health business, I started to kind of collaborate and talk with these different disciplines. And I knew I didn't want to be a nurse. My parents were both nurses. My dad is a registered nurse and a engineer. My sister was a physical therapist. My other sister was a nurse, and I was like, I can't get that close to people. Shout out to all the nurses. Oh my God, I think hospitals don't run without them. But I don't think I'm cut out to do that type of work. So I kind of pivoted and looked into speech pathology, and I was like, speech therapy, okay, like I like to talk, that's cool. What else? What other things can be done with that? And so, with time and through graduate work, I realized, oh, okay, dysphagia or language and, swallowing. That kind of interests me a whole bunch. And so thankful for my mentors at Howard University that opened those doors for me. And that's how I fell in love with the acute care setting. And so now I'm just currently mentoring different speech therapists in the hospital settings and taking on my other love, which is I'm the founder of hashtag Black SLP Magic Conference. And that conference is a one-day conference filled with just panelists, compelling topics and community unlike no other, where the professionals are kind of gathering across all allied health, representing mainly the underrepresented in our field. So it's a space that Jordyn and I actually cultivated over the years to become a place where the underrepresented can feel safe, seen, and supported. So that's our motto and that's our theme. And so, yeah, that's a little bit about me. Oh, side note, I was a dance major in undergrad. So I also like movement. I used to be a bar instructor. I used to be a Pilates instructor. So right now I'm in my running era. So that's me.
I was a ballerina once upon a time and a terrible one.
Oh,
So much so I shattered my big toe 3 times doing ballet.
oh
Oh,
no.
oh, it was bad. And I mean, I wasn't graceful, but I tried and I had fun. And now my husband dances like this, like the little old white man dance with his fingertips up. And I'm like, baby, please, please put those down. But he's cute.
Listen, as long as he can catch the rhythm, he's invited to the barbecue. So.
I mean, not really, but that's okay. You give him a good Guinness and the man will return. But yes. Well, thank you. And y'all, their conference, the Black SLP Magic Conference, is typically on Saturdays at ASHA every year. So I don't know. I know we have a large quantity of guests that are listening live, which always makes me nervous that waffles will bark or a child will fart, and we can't edit that out live. So full disclosures, it's live. But if you're listening to this at a later point in time, please make sure that you check their website because they consistently 100% sell out on tickets. So, but it's Saturdays at ASHA. So this year it's Indianapolis. Go ahead and prep and get ready because good things coming. And Jordyn, tell us about how you got into the world of speech therapy and then set up social scene. Yeah. Oh, you're muted, darling.
You are so right. Thank you. Um, so I've known I wanted to be an SLP since I was a child, similar to Chelsie, but on the education side. My mom was a special education teacher for over 30 years, and I grew up in her classroom. So I was like always the one that was at the Special Olympics. I was always volunteering. Like I was in it, from very, very young. So I one time was in her classroom and saw the SLP come in and sit at the little horseshoe table in the class, and her kids ran up to her and they got to play with the toys, and then she left in 30 minutes. And I was like, wow, like that seems like a great job. You just get to play and then leave. Like what? Well, that's all I want to do. And I knew I wanted to work with kids. And then I also like I've always loved words and language. I feel like it's so interesting to me that you can think of something in your head and then say it out loud and the other person receives the message. Like communication is an amazing thing. So I feel like it was just the perfect field for me. I went to undergrad at what is a predominantly white institution. So it was an adverse experience overall. It was definitely a tough time, but it was a good speech and language program. So I did learn a lot, and I went to grad school very prepared. And I had an amazing time at Howard University with Chelsie, where we met and immediately knew that we were linking for life. So it was truly a great experience. I had amazing supervisors, just like Chelsie. And so I feel like I carry a piece of all of them in the work that I do, like with social justice and with like, as in my practice. So I feel like I have been just so lucky, so blessed on my journey of becoming an SLP and have gained a great community and just really decided how important representation is.
Yes. I'm I came from a completely different upper middle class white family, and it was a with my parents split, but they were did the best that they could with us together. And my youngest brother was born with stepbrother, but brother, a cleft lip that went into his nostrils, and my stepmom was electrocuted during the pregnancy. And she went to change the toggle on the light switch, and her ex-husband hadn't cut the electricity. And so he came out with dysarthria. Well, because bless him, he was fried. He's right as right now. He's 6'4" and has a degree in physics. We're all quirky, but like neurospiciness runs in our family on both sides, step and blood. That's why we gel together. But my ballet classmate, her mom, Miss Safransky, was the speech therapist, which has to be the worst name for a speech therapist, Miss Safransky. And that was my connection to the world of speech, was to see my little brother finally start talking at 4. And what I love about our stories is that we all had that moment. We had that opportunity. Chelsie, you were steeped in it. Jordyn, you grew up with it. But we had that eye-opening, veil-lifting, this is the calling that you have on your life, right? And what I think about is how many potential colleagues are out there that will miss that because they don't know our profession exists. And where are we moving our bodies? All right, so y'all know I love Jesus, but my Jesus loves everybody, like, right? And I can hear one of my pastors back in South Carolina saying the church moves them, the body goes to them. And I have to think about that in light of all of the current world events, that the onus is on all of us, but that means all of us. And that's not everybody's ready to hear that. Some of my own parents on that note, but we're just going to give that to Jesus, and that's conversation for after hours with a cocktail that will be in that fridge later. But can y'all talk to me? Where are your hearts and your heads in this month and in the passion? Like, how do y'all feel we can start this conversation and start moving?
I think it being Black History Month, personally, I think the best month of the year. I think it just makes it very intentional to highlight what, we try to highlight from the beginning with our organizations. I also didn't talk about SLP Social Scene, which I want to add. I just added onto Black SLP Magic Conference, because for me, it's always really important for people to have a space where they can feel and be themselves. And I feel like that is a rare space to find in the profession of speech language pathology, where all of your identities are accepted. So I just want to create a fun place where people can come be professionally unprofessional and meet like-minded colleagues. And it just pairs perfectly again at the end of ASHA weekend after the conference, and you just get to socialize with the people that you just spent the day with learning. So I think all of that is really important. And I think February is such a great month to highlight the brilliance of Black SLPs that we try to highlight at any point possible. So yeah, that's where my passion is for February.
Yes.
Yeah, so my passion is kind of the same for February. It's a great reminder to know that the work that we are doing year round is always important. I do think that sometimes February is so highlighted and so hyper focused that they miss the point of what it's for. So that's why, Black SLP Magic Conference coming at a time where the focus is on other things. It's like, hey, don't forget, at the beginning of the year, we had this much excitement for Black History Month. Let's keep that same energy throughout the
Yes.
entire year during conversations, or when you are talking with different staff members or treating families and patients or patient education. So for me, it's more so like, yes, we love the pinnacle of this month, but how can we as a profession and organization continue the same momentum for BIPOC in general throughout the entire year? So for me, it's a good little resting period for Jordyn and I while before we start prepping for the conference and the social scene. But it is exciting to see, organizations with this allyship wanting to work with us and seeing how they can further promote the work throughout the year, specifically for this month.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think Chelsea makes a great point in saying that this is just the highlight. Like this is the month where all of Black history is highlighted, and where we specifically want to highlight Black joy and Black brilliance, Black triumph, and not the negative history, which is what we learn, the negative and false history, what that's in the curriculums. So I think that's really what's important to me. And I also think this is a sidebar, but as SLPs, especially working with kids, I feel like we're a supplement to what they're learning in school, right? So we have such a great opportunity to teach them things that are outside of the curriculum, but still part of what they should be learning for Black
Yes.
History Month. So this is a perfect opportunity for you to think about, like, what can I share? What can I teach as we're working on these goals for Black History Month and all of like the historical months that people celebrate? There's so many opportunities for us to add that in. But I think just to add on to what Chelsea was saying, the issue is getting people to care outside of February. So I think it's great for us to have this platform. I'm very excited about it, and I hope a lot of people get these free CEUs because those cost a lot of money, and I'm all about accessibility. So
Yes.
I think this is a great opportunity for that. And how can we further this access or sponsorship or support and collaboration moving forward with everybody involved?
Yes. So, folks, I have had amazing mentors in the course of my career. Dr. Michelle Norman, who taught at Hampton University, she was one of my dysphagia professors. Her 26-page paper on motor neurons was the bane of my existence. But trust me, I learned my motor neurons because of Dr. Norman. Yeah. But she and Dr. Frances Burns, who both of them are now at Francis Marion University, they mentored the daylights out of me when I was serving as the clinic director, down to what materials are you using or are in the clinic that represent all of the tiny humans and adult humans, because Chelsie, she saw the adults. I did not see the adults, but that represent. So to build upon what Jordyn said, when you're looking through a lens of being a white female, you might not recognize on the surface that you have white baby dolls. So looking at that, looking at the books that you're using, looking at representation in the Lark box. Chelsie, I remember once upon a time I did treat adults and we'd have the Lark box, right? And in the Lark box, they would pull out a comb, but it was only one type of comb. It didn't even match the hairbrush that I used. But do we have representation of those materials across the life continuum? And oftentimes not. So then are we throughout the year asking the question, how can we do better? What tool would you recommend? And not necessarily just of our colleagues, but also of those that we serve. Well, how would you do this different? What product would you select? How would you use it? And those tiny fundamental changes, once you start doing them, it becomes second nature. And it's amazing to me how when we seek to understand and go in with a humble spirit, how much you yourself grow. So that's helped me, but I wouldn't have had my eyes open had it not been for Dr. Norman and Dr. Burns being like, okay, they clapped at me because ADHD, I needed all of the attention. But what barriers do y'all see as the most prevalent right now? And like, please know, hell's bells, my heart's been hurting hard. And full disclosure, I had to have the ice conversation, not physical ice from outside, because that's been a freaking pain in the butt the last 2 weeks, but the ice conversation with the patient. So I am predisposed to be teary-eyed right now. Because of what's going on in our community. But what barriers do y'all see right now that you want to highlight to make us aware of?
Do you mean barriers to like specifically speech or barriers?
That BIPOC colleagues face getting into this, learning about this, barriers to practicums. What barriers don't I not even know exist that I should know exist to be aware of and on the lookout for?
Yeah.
A big question.
No, I mean, yeah, we can definitely go a lot of places here, but I think just to start with access to the field, um, it is very tough to become a speech language pathologist, as we all know.
Yes.
Um, but it starts from before we get into undergrad. It starts because each of us had one moment, or we were lucky enough to be in a family where we were exposed to what a speech language pathologist is. That's not the case for the majority of people of color, period. But most people don't work in education. Most people don't work in healthcare. Most people are working class and they don't have careers that require upper education, higher level education. So that means the majority of people are not exposed to the things that we have been exposed to. Um, so I think the first part is the limitations that people face based on where they live, based on where they go to school, based on their parents' income. That means that they're lacking information, access, and time. I actually just saw a research article about how the students or children who are raised the best, children who grow up to be the most successful, the most like emotionally mature, the only like varying barrier that made a difference was how much time they were allowed to spend with their parents. Most parents, this is going to another factor of time poverty. Most parents who are working class are working 1 to 2 jobs, are not able to just come home and do homework and eat a family dinner together because I'm either figuring out how I can get you to and from school so you can come home, and figuring out how to cook dinner between this time, have enough money to feed the family while I'm working 2 jobs, while I have all these other things. Another thing, most people of color are taking care of somebody in their family. So that's more people that they have to provide for. So there's just a lot of factors that start from before we're even thinking about a career. Like this is affecting me in elementary school because I have less access to people with higher level education, less access to people who even know what these other careers could be. Like I know I can be one of 3 things. I can be a teacher, I can be a security guard, or I can be a coach of some sort. Like I don't see any other options. And you can't be what you're not exposed to.
I had not heard of the word time poverty, but I've seen that as a barrier. And I have little ones where we're trying to get in and do caregiver coaching and early intervention, and the parents work longer hours than I work in a given day. And so it's how do you uplift and pour into the caregivers that aren't present with the child through no fault of their own, and it's, yeah, time poverty. Have y'all do y'all know Dr. Belinda Daughtry out of California? She is the NISHLA chair, the faculty member. She, with two of her co-authors from, I think it's California State Fresno, if memory is correct.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes, they wrote an article on the concept of professional identity and how, and we have them coming on the podcast. It's coming out in like a couple weeks, and I'm really excited about it. So I don't want to give the whole thing away, but it was in the ASHA Leader. So folks, if you're looking for a really great resource, please go look at Dr. Daughtry's article. And there was a fourth author, but she wasn't able to make it on as a podcast. So please forgive me for not mentioning the fourth author, but there is a fourth author. But about how BIPOC colleagues struggle with the professional identity because of inherent traits and barriers growing growing up, especially our bilingual, trilingual professionals. And they give strategies, but it was such an empowering article, and it kind of hurt a little to read it, in truth. But I think that's the point, right? Like it's in that uncomfortable that we can grow. Chelsie, thoughts?
Yeah, I think that question is multi-layer. We can go so many different avenues, and I think the barrier conversation is not just one thing, it's so
Yes.
many. But for me and currently in my day-to-day work environment, I think the most prevalent would be cultural sensitivity. And what I mean by that is just taking a moment, a small second of time to improve health literacy and improve health understanding by just asking questions. I think with our field, we are so solution based and evidence based, and we have to get to an answer and get to a treatment and get to a diagnosis that we miss the overall picture, which is the family, the patient, right? So asking questions, for example, I have two examples. So one example was I tell this Barium story all the time about this Asian Pacific Islander family. They do not drink cold drinks. And the barium that this clinician was providing was, of course, maybe just refrigerated. And so the patient family was like, no, is there any way that we can make this room temperature? And so the therapist ended up canceling the barium swallow test completely, making the patient, not deemed to swallow or have nothing to eat or drink. And so when I came behind
Oh,
the patient, when I came behind that therapist, I kind of looked through the chart, of course, chart reviewed, and found some digging. And I just simply asked the wife, and I said, what's going on? And she said, we don't drink cold anything. And I was like, wow, simple as just asking a question. So what I did was I made a way, right, and advocated for her and said, hey, talk to the radiology team, talk to the physician, got clearance to just leave it overnight. It was no problem. And I did the modified barium swallow, and that patient got on to eat his food and go home. So I think that conversation about sensitivity, right, not for getting our units or getting our productivity and making sure that we are the best SLP possible. Instead, you need to turn it around and kind of put a mirror and say, like, who am I serving, right? what are we doing to ensure that it's complete and not just one-sided? Another example is a personal one. My birthday is next month in March, so my friends and I are going to Rio de Janeiro. So I'm messaging all these different restaurants and tour guides, and I'm like, "Hola, ¿cómo es?" And they're like, "Hola, bom dia, obrigado." And I'm like, wow, they speak Portuguese, not Spanish. So again, sensitivity, right? I could have just took a step back and not focus on my needs and my wants and my reservations and my plans and my itinerary, right? Like we do with our treatment sessions. And I could have said, okay, let me investigate what is the culture? What do they do? What language do they speak? What do I not supposed to do as an American, right? So I can feel more inclusive and they can feel more inclusive. So just the sensitivity part in the workplace, I'm noticing, especially the newer clinicians coming in and just coming in with their binders and their assessments and not just taking a step and asking questions. So that's mine.
Yes. So I got my hair done yesterday, and I promise this connects. But my hairstylist, Tiffany, I love her. She is Christian and Wiccan. And so she holds both the spiritual element and her Christian upbringing and honors both. Um, it's a very awesome experience because she puts oils on you and you walk away very relaxed. Oh, honey, she custom makes her oils and they feel really good. Yes. So I will send you her profile on Instant Messenger. She's amazing. But we got to talking about our professional careers because she's like a top tiered hairdresser. Like they have different tiers of skill sets. And anyways, I'm not doing good advertisement for her because I treated tiny humans all day. So pretend it's more done better. But anywho, she said that she had self-doubt and imposter syndrome coming along because she struggled to see that she was good enough. And she went to a training because she is as nerdy about her line of work as we are about ours. And a colleague in one of the classes said, we're taught to focus on the failures. The hair isn't right. Like I missed it or like didn't color it to like the base or tone or I don't know, insert appropriate terminologies. That's not what I do. But it hit when she said that because I am clinically, our profession stems from an ableist top down. I'm going to come in and pathologize, right? Like I'm going to come in and analyze this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, and then build a treatment plan around deficits as opposed to how we can build up.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
um I feel like we got that, drilled into us in grad school of like and ask open-ended questions.
Yes.
You can't, you're not going to get enough information from the yes nos. And a lot of times your questions can be leading because your bias comes in and it's implicit bias. You don't know. You don't know it's coming in. You don't know that you're asking a question to confirm what you think you already know. So it's so important to ask open-ended questions, include the family, just like in Chelsea's example, include the family in the discussion. The family knows what's going on. The family can give you much more rich information than you're going to get from the one person who's experiencing it or who is even capable or at the point of their recovery to be able to say it or tell you. So
Yes.
just including the family, knowing what their goals are, what do you need them to do? I do early intervention all the time and I ask the parents, I'm saying, what do you need them to do? What are your goals? What routine do you need them to follow? Tell me what your day is like. Tell me from the time they wake up to the time they go to sleep. Tell me what their day looks like. And I'm going to find some pain points and we're going to target those in our sessions because that's what this is for. It's to improve quality of life. That's what being an SLP is. So that's what I need to know what your life is like to be able to do that.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Jordan, because sometimes in like my case, I had a student who asked me like, "Oh, like Chelsie, what if they don't have family, right?" Because I work in a hospital that is underfunded. It's a county hospital. We get a
Mm.
lot of uninsured patients and families, and sometimes it's, also unhoused, homeless, group homes, so many different type of dynamics. So what if they don't have family? What if it's just them and they're incapable to speak? That is when you use your humanism, right? Your morale, and kind of say, if this was my person, no matter the color of their skin, right? Because we all shouldn't be SLPs if we are biased, right?
Yes.
How would I want my family member, my best friend, my blank, right? Someone close to me to be treated in this moment. So that's just to answer that question of what if the family, right? The typical family structure is not available, then you would just use your humanism in that moment.
Yes. So I go back to my brother-in-law, who's a fabulously bald autistic man that's about 7 to 8 developmentally, right? And I catch myself wanting to mother him because my grandma loved everybody and mamaed everybody, and she raised me. But he is his own self. And yes, is my heart trying to help? Yep. But is it wrong? Yes. I have to remember and check that this is a bias that I have, that I think he can't do these things when he can do these things. And that's hard, especially wearing sister-in-law hat and SLP hat. But I have to respect his autonomy. And so that's something that I think that ableism is inherent, and we need to break it down in every single graduate class as to where it can rear its head. Like, highlight this is an issue right here, and let's dissect it. And also on our practicums, which is hard because a lot of external clinical supervisors don't get formal training in how to be a supervisor. I think if we were to if I could wave a wand and we could rewrite curriculum, I think every graduate program should have a business management class, because we need to know how to manage a business. And every single class needs to have a social determinants of health and like an actual ism component to break down every single how this, and one final layer, interprofessional practice, because I guarantee all of us out here rely on an allied health or a like a medical or a school personnel. We all have our go-to person. Who is your go-to person? OT, PT? Like, I'm just curious. Do y'all have a go-to person at work where you're like,
I have so many in the hospital. Every
respiratory
person,
therapy?
every person is a part of the care because it's just so complex, right? So I think
Yes.
we got physicians, even down to the residents, even down to the social workers, even down to one of my closest friends now. She's a trauma psychology counselor in acute care.
I'm
Me and
sorry,
like
what?
exactly. She's a trauma psych counselor in the hospital specifically. So people who have big traumatic injuries and they wake up and they're like, I lost a leg, or this
Oh,
was a fatality, or someone who was driving with me, they passed and I don't know what to do. Her name is Chelsie as well. So I think that's why I love her even more. But trauma psych counselor, of course, I just figured out the difference between social work and case management. Like you
mhm.
just start to understand that it's a whole pie and it's just not speech therapy that matters. So
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely. I mean, same in the school setting, we're all on a multidisciplinary team. So I would say my go-to right now is probably the school psychologist. I mean, we're pretty much on all the same cases. And then OT, and then I've also really been connecting with a reading interventionist. That has
Yes.
been interesting. Yeah, that's been really cool too. So again, there's so many people that you can work with that if you are able to, definitely take advantage. You learn so much.
Yes. So when I look back on baby Michelle and when I first started, right? Baby Michelle was like, I have to fix this. I have to go in and figure out what's wrong and make it better. And it's like I'm looking at it and it's a white savior complex and it was ableism, but I didn't know those terms until I knew better. Because honestly, one of my girlfriends pointed me out, like called me out one time on something. Mern, I love you. Mern always called me on my, well, I won't say that live, but like it, the amount of love it takes to correct and the amount of respect that it encourage it takes to say that's wrong. And I think that's one of the things that I love about Dr. Norman is we had a graduate student one time experience racism in her practicum. And the way Dr. Norman flipped the narrative on the clinical supervisor and called her external clinical supervisor, but called her on it, shut it down like that. It was a lesson in dignity. And we did not send that student back, and we found a safe environment for that student to thrive and flourish in. So it leads to the next question of when we have all of these barriers to get into the field, when we have barriers to get into clinical practicum sites or to be promoted within when you're employed there, because that's a whole nother conversation for another day. But what are hallmarks of a safe environment? Like, what can we systematically do to create that safe space so that the student colleague can thrive?
I would say, to your point, Michelle, so when that student was removed from that unsafe environment, what was the, I guess, subsequent reaction with the externship? Were they still on the list for someone
No,
else, or were they completely
no.
taken out? Okay,
We
so
that was and I was very firm about that. If
perfect.
you don't hurt my babies, I mama hen everybody.
Perfect. So that would be for me, at least I can speak for me, what is a hallmark as a safe environment where, yes, I'm in an unsafe place. Is my institution or my organization advocating for me in this space? And then how do
Not
they react?
always.
Not always, right. And how do they react to that, right? Are they going to just, okay, push her to the side, send an email, and then send the non-Black student there? That means that it's truly not a safe environment. So that's for me.
And I have seen that. I
Yes.
have worked at other institutes,
Oh, yeah.
PWIs, where a BIPOC graduate student clinician brought concerns, and I was told, Michelle, stop.
Mm.
I don't work there
Yeah.
further.
Yeah.
But
Advocacy. It's so important. That is a safe, and that word gets tossed around very often, but that action behind it, that's what I was getting
It's a
to.
verb. It's a
Once
verb.
that, right, that action, it's not just advocacy, it's the action part. We have to see it, right? So once that student was removed, do we still have a contract with that externship or no? Oh, okay. Then they're really for me, right? But if not, it's kind of like it makes you feel, imagine if, once she was pulled out and then someone else was sent there, how would that make her journey feel? She would not feel safe. She would not feel supported.
no,
So
Yeah. And then it also would reinforce that they were correct in doing that, that they weren't in the wrong, that they'll just send somebody else if we're racist to the one we don't like. Like that's not the message we need to send.
but it also sends the message to that potential practicum site that what it validated what they did. Even if you send it to send a different student to a different colleague, these businesses are not. And yes, I know we are hard pressed for practicum sites, but if this is the work culture that is accepted in that site, why would we perpetuate that? Like, but that also means we have to do a better job of encouraging external clinical supervisors to want to be a thing But I feel like most people are an external clinical supervisor predicated on the experience that they had in their graduate practicums. Jordyn, that is a very deep nod.
Yeah. No, I agree because I just know there's such a wide span of experiences that people have with their supervisors. Like some people had amazing supervision experience, and some people it was traumatic, like literally traumatic. People have had
Amazing.
experience. Yes. And so I know the people, like for me, I am so appreciative of my supervisors just because I'm so aware of the other side of that. So I definitely think it influences people's decision to like, I want to make sure as many people as possible get a good one.
Yeah. So when I think of good clinical supervision, when I think of creating that safe space, what I needed was support and recognition that my executive functioning skills are different, not wrong, but different. I have ADHD. When I go to write a report, I don't start at the beginning and go to the end. I would pluck an eyebrow out before I did that. I start here and then I have a thought and I go over here and then I go over here. And there is nothing wrong with that. I write really good freaking reports. It's just gonna go A to Q to B to Z and then we'll get it done. But like, tiny little things of this is what I need, or hey, I am a really great learner, but I don't learn well with auditory messages. So if you let me do hands-on, or if you give me a visual demonstration first, that's my learning style. But I do struggle with auditory, like processing auditory messages, which is interesting because I have to take notes when we're podcasting because I have to see the visual, right? But I have had 42 years to be able to advocate and put into action. I like that addition there in the notes. Um, to be able to say that. Are we empowering our students to be able to communicate that that's what they need, right?
Yeah. I think you made a really great point about
Yay, KK. Sorry, folks. Somebody, lovely human named KK was like, that sounds like how my brain works. Welcome to perimenopause and ADHD, KK. If you're not there yet, hold tight, friend, because whoo, I don't know if you're female and you get perimenopause, but I swear my husband's going through it too. So bless his pretty hard.
we all go through changes.
He's over there like, leave me out of this. Sorry, Jordyn. Keep on going, darling.
Um, I was just gonna say, I think you made a good point earlier about if I don't respect you, I'm not gonna correct you. Like, there's so many people in this life that I've disagreed with, but I'm like, it's not worth my energy to even tell them any different. Like, I'm not gonna, this is a pointless argument to start. But if it's somebody I respect and I'm like, no, they'll hear me and they'll like actually mull it through and think about it and consider what I'm saying, then I'll take the time to have the conversation. And I think it's just like you're saying about the grad students or the student clinicians. If you feel safe enough to bring something up, especially directly to your supervisor, that's a sign that it's a safe space. If you feel like you can't say something to them or you'll be punished for saying something or you just feel uncomfortable, I would say that's a red flag. So when you kind of know when you're starting at a in a new situation, like it feels off for me, especially when it comes to like racial differences. Like for me, I can tell like I'm uncomfortable here. It's like an ancestral feeling. Like there's really no explanation other than like internally something feels off. And I feel like you know when that is and pay attention to that.
Yes.
I was going to just add another thing would be kind of networking. If you are in a place and you feel like, oh, I want to call mom or dad and tell them about this, or oh, I want to call my friend or my
Yes.
SLP friend and let her know about this. If you don't have that feeling that you would want to bring on the next person here as well, kind of reconsider the environment and see if that is a hallmark of safety. Um, I know for me and Jordyn, just we don't have $1 million company with this conference that we started in the social scene. Everything and every ticket sale, every opportunity, and I'm so grateful, we are so grateful, is by word of mouth. because of the way that they feel in the space. There is opportunity
Yeah.
for transparency. There's an opportunity for network and connectedness. Um, and there's a transparency part that is not just academic, it's personal, it's business, it's everything. That's why,
Yeah.
people keep coming back. So I think having that, if I feel like I can network here, if I feel like I can also thrive and come back, then it's a hallmark of safety. That's another one for me.
Yes. So, folks, if you're able and you're listening live, please add to the chat box what made you feel safe in your practicum, because I would love to hear other strategies so we can share those. Um, and if you're listening and you're looking for resources to grow this, ASHA actually does have some pretty cool tools to help clinical supervisors strengthen their skills to assess their biases. I know that at FMU, we went through those tools with our graduate students systematically at the start of term before they went to their external clinical practicum sites so that um, they were aware of what to look out for because it's in South Carolina and racism is alive everywhere, but definitely in the deep South and Flowtown. So some of the responses that we're getting, all of my SLP friends had traumatic CF and master internship supervisors. They were all about a semester ahead of me. That's horrible. I had one good, kind, my mouse is going too fast. I had one good, kind supervisor, and I vowed that I would never subject myself to that for my CF. For several reasons, I had three supervisors, and I researched and met with people like crazy to find them. We had weekly check-in meetings. They were wonderful. Open dialogue was welcome. Yes, weekly check-in. I feel like I jumped several ahead, but my mouse is like so sensitive. Having patient supervisors who make me feel like no question was a dumb question. Yes.
Yeah, that's so important. You should,
Yeah.
supervisors, you need to be encouraging learning. Like, I don't understand why you would like subject someone to feeling like they shouldn't ask a question. Would you rather them just not know? Like, what is the other alternative? So yes, every question should be okay. And we should like that's part of being a supervisor is to answer the questions. So that's a good one, feeling safe enough to ask whatever you need to ask.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love the weekly check-ins. I needed that in grad school because sometimes you can just be on autopilot and not know what's going on. And I think those weekly check-ins help with the end grade. So you're not like, oh, I thought we were vibing and you still gave me a C. So those weekly check-ins help with feedback management. It helps with just kind of gearing where you are in the process of your externship or school. So that's a really good one.
Yeah. V also said that they found that most SLPs did not have good experiences overall in related to supervisors and
Yeah.
supervision. I wonder if that's the general consensus.
And why is
Wow.
that?
Yeah, and if that's the case, what is that about?
Yeah. For what?
Power trips. I
Yeah.
will tell you the truth. What I honestly think is power trips. And I have seen and been asked at private practices, well, while they're treating patients, yes, it's about power. Yes. While they're treating patients, can't you see patients because then they can double their income? And this is not how this works. And I am. So we're in the process of having the shift from the 375 hours to more experience and competency based, which I am petrified as to how they're going to determine what makes an individual competent. That terrifies me, but I am in hopes that when we get rid of this mandatory hours, that we can look at quality, not quantity, to borrow the NICU terminology and bottle feeding. Quality, not quantity, but yes. A lovely human named Christina says, I love doing research in CEUs with my supervisees on topics that we both want to learn about. It opens up conversations and maintains
Humility.
humility, thank you, on my end, showing them that we never stop learning. Yes.
Mhm.
That
But
one is a great one. Shout out to Dr. Annette Hines at Howard. We used to do chicken wing Wednesdays and get chicken.
what?
Yes, I don't know if they still have that at Howard University Hospital, but Chicken Wing Wednesdays was my medical externship on the campus at the hospital, and she's still teaching there, and she's still a speech pathologist there. And we would get some wings, and then sit in her office and just talk about everything medical. And I loved it so much. So I agree with you, Christina.
That's amazing.
Mhm.
I also think one of my strongest values is you can learn anything from anyone. And I think we do not sit so above our clinician or our student clinicians that we can't learn something from them. They're in school right now, like getting the new research, the new content. Like we should be asking them what's going on. What are you learning in class? Like, what do you want to try? Is there something you learned about that you have further questions? Like, we should be learning from each other. This is a collaboration more than anything. So I think that's a good one.
Yes. Lena Sayed is coming on. She was one of my graduate students. She is a CF and she's coming on to talk about autism and the GI gut. And I had somebody were like, well, why are you having a CF on? And I'm like, why wouldn't I have a CF on? Because if she knows more than me, I let her grow me because that's the population that I serve. I can funnel that information and then make myself a better therapist.
Yep.
Um, there,
Exactly.
there's so many great and heartbreaking
Oh
feedbacks. I
no,
also,
another one. Yeah.
yeah.
Anna, you saw that one?
Do you can you speak to it because I've lost it in the scroll
Oh,
box?
yep, I got it. She said, I also had an awful grad school experience. I was a non-traditional student, older than the rest of her cohort, born and raised in California, period, me too. And then went to school in the Midwest, one of four BIPOC, one of four out of state. I never want to go back to the Midwest ever again. Even individuals who claim to be progressive made microaggressive comments all the time, which was even harder to work with because they were so convinced that they were not racist and they were not open to criticisms. Ooh, yeah, that's tough.
Mm.
That I feel like that has been kind of an awakening for me too. I've only lived in California and DC, which are two very liberal places, and I recently kind of moved to Atlanta, which is a progressive city, but it's in the South. And there are differences. There are clear differences. Again, like she said, even the people who are progressive are much more conservative than the liberal or progressive people from where I'm from. So yeah, culture shock for real.
I went from outside of Fredericksburg, Virginia to Columbia, South Carolina, but and I spent 12 years working in Columbia, South Carolina. That's where I cut my teeth, like, and really got in. But it was like going back in time to go from Fredericksburg to Columbia. And the sexism alone, men would expect me to move on the street, walking down the sidewalk, holding two children, and grown men would assume that I'm going to move. And I read a research article about this, and it was about boots, women in boots, that you know that these boots were made for walking. I won't sing, I won't put people through it. It's terrible. But I would I would chicken them like, let's go. I'm not moving. Like, and the boys will tell you, Mommy, he's being sexist. I remember they were like 6 and they were like, that's sexism. And I'm like, yes, but maybe not shouted in like downtown Columbia because like,
Right.
but
No, that's so
accurate
true.
information. Yes,
I've
but
seen a similar article. They do same for, they've done one for race, that I've also read about Black people always more often moving out of the way. And so there's been like, there was maybe like 2020 era, there's a whole movement of Black people saying like, I'm not moving anymore. Like, I'm not going to be the one that
yes.
moves on the sidewalk. So it's definitely like all the isms, they come to play in so many places in our life that we don't even think about.
Great point, Jordyn, to talk about the isms. If you guys don't follow Jordyn on Instagram, you should. JRCDSLP. She posts the greatest content about microaggressions, all the things advocacy, BIPOC, all the day to day. And one of she posted, Jordyn, you posted something, and I was reading your with the comments, and one of the comments was like, "Oh, this is ninja fatigue,"
What is
and I
this?
was like, huh. And this is about microaggressions. That is a microaggression there. And to your point, V, about whoever the supervisor saying, congratulations, you're the first CF I haven't been able to make cry.
What?
That is a microaggression. Large red flag, not a safe space. Exit immediately.
Yes, but also file the report on the way.
Right.
Yeah, we don't need them being a supervisor ever again. That
Mm.
is, I'm so sorry. That's ridiculous. That makes me so upset that people have had such bad experiences. Like this is not what that field is about, which is why I don't understand the disconnect. And I think historically people take power wherever they can take power, especially when as a woman you're not in the highest position of power, so you take it where you can get it. But also you would think that you are more self-aware than that. You would think that you wouldn't want to do this to another woman, first of all, to a student, to you wouldn't want to subject people to what you feel. If that's what you feel powerless in other places of your life. But there's just so many layers.
So many layers, so many places where people have power trips, especially online on these large Facebook forums when people post anonymously and say things that are so horrible. And it's like, wow, you're talking about your CFY student like this. If you're so bold, why don't you post your actual face? We can go down the rabbit hole about that. But yes, um,
Um,
I'm sorry that your friend had to experience that. Be not cool.
I would like to say that it's better on the academic side. I teach adjunct and we have academic pages on Facebook for like theoretically support strategies. Let's pull this research article. Let's do, like, hey, I'm looking for this. Could anybody do an in-service or whatnot? But the things that are posted anonymously in there are enough to make you not want to be an SLP anymore because that's what they're thinking, like, and they're teaching and like, I'll just stop talking. But so folks, this is your call to action. I experienced ableism before I knew what it was as a student, and I didn't understand what was happening to me and my little ADHD self. And that is small potatoes compared to what some of my colleagues have gone through. But it lit a fire in me to be a clinical supervisor because I never wanted anybody to go through what I went through. And I can proudly say I think I've had like 18 or 19 baby SLPs as like semester long clinical students, and almost every single one of them went into early intervention after spending a term with me, which makes me so like I made two boys that are my pride and joy and 18 or 19 baby SLPs. So like, but something good happened. And it is hard to turn a trauma into action for advocacy. And I can speak to that as a domestic abuse survivor. And it is hard to bear witness on the other side to that. And I'm not going to cry about that. But at the end of the day, I think it's through the cracks where our lights can shine if we can allow them. And that's hard to heal enough to help somebody else. And there's also an abundance of grace for everybody on their own personal healing journey. Um, but we can make it better.
Yeah, no, that's beautifully stated, Michelle. And I think, just as my closing statement, all everyone on this, live today clicked on this title for a reason. They had a interest in learning and, to always grow. And that's okay if, in the past you've experienced this or been on the other side of it. I always say mistakes are proof of learning. And I hope that this conversation was so enriching so you can take it back with you and do things differently in your day to day, whether that be your practice, whether it be your personal life or just overall relationships in general when you are communicating with people who are not the same skin color as you. So, congrats to everyone who's joining in today and just taking that added step to even just learn and be more aware of the opportunities out there for change.
Yes. Jordyn?
Yes, I agree. I think just to go off what Chelsie is saying, being open-minded in general in all aspects of your life is going to make you a better person. Instead of coming into something with an idea of what it should be, just be responsive to what it is, whether that's a person, whether that's what you're here to learn or what you thought you knew. Just be able to listen to other people's perspectives, and then take some time to think about it, reflect on it, think about how you feel. But yes, I'm very excited for this platform. I can't wait for February 22nd, for you to all see the live with we have some amazing speakers, great
Who's
topics.
coming?
Do you have the list? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, we have Emma Justice. She is a phenomenal feeding lactation peds SLP. We have Maurice Goodwin, who is a voice specialist and recently just got a adjunct professor position at University of Houston, talking about all things voice. We have Amanda Perielis and Jackie Rodriguez, who are talking about Afro-Latina and how to improve that awareness. Then we have Dr. Trisha Ross, and she's talking about AAE and AAVE, how to be accepting of the norms of that. And I think that's it. Yeah. And me and Jordan will be proctoring and being, the moderators. We're calling it like a brunch time. So if you guys can come and join us. And if not, then I hope to see you guys at the Black SLP Magic Conference in the fall. Follow us on Instagram if you have one, or we'll kind of put the information in the show notes just to stay connected to us and see what we're doing for 2026 conference and the SLP social scene after party.
Okay, I just shared the link to the class in the chat box. I was trying to rapid fire do that in the background. Please tell me that y'all are doing webinars yourselves in your own area of expertise, because I kind of want to geek out and just like learn from y'all.
Um, not not yet. Not with speech therapy PD.
Who, it doesn't matter where, babes.
Oh, well, yeah, I have some. They're floating around. I'll send you some links.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes.
Also, y'all know how it is. Life be lifing. And I wish I had time to do more webinars and speak more and do those things. But maybe that should be a goal for Jordan and I. Well, we should do some more
Yes.
talking.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, we're working behind the
We'll
scenes.
figure it out.
Okay. Well, when the time is right, please, yes. And thank y'all for sharing your joy and your energies with us. And thank you for trusting. Thank you for blessing my stars and trusting me to feel safe to do this, because I'm grateful. So, and so is Waffles, who did not bark. Thank the Lord, because I was worried about that.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Yes.
Everybody on the 22nd.